Hey there, welcome to another episode, and today we are going to answer some questions on the front derailleur that I've had a few comments on the last video of installing this. Wasn't a very good video, but it was just kind of, I think that was like the second video I ever posted, and I'm still learning about this whole thing, so please bear with me. It was kind of a startup channel to start. Whoops. Kind of a startup channel to start out with. So, but anyways, getting to the front derailleur adjustment, cable mounting, all that kind of stuff. So, first things first, when you put the cable on here, start out in low gear, get it tensioned, and make sure both of these these basically limiting screws are all the way out. I don't mean take them all the way out, like, completely out here. I mean, like, make sure they're backed out. Obviously still threaded in, but make sure they're backed all the way out so they're not hitting on the back side. And I don't even know if I can get this in there to show you. Maybe you can maybe see, like, down there. Yeah, no, it's not focusing right. I still gotta get my other camera set up, my actual, like, nice Nikon camera. That's just my cell phone, so probably not very good video quality, but, and you got your high-low, which if the camera focuses long enough, right back here, you can see the H and the L. So, but basically, first things first, you get, obviously you get the cable on here, get it tensioned where it's taut when the shifter is in low gear. Make sure your shifter is in low gear. That's one of the most important things. And then, after you get that done, come down here, and make sure that the chain, now, you want to make sure that your chain is as straight as, like, whatever gear you are in the back, you want to make sure your chain's about as straight as you can get it to adjust up here, and then go slightly, especially in low gear, go slightly more outward with it, because when you start moving down gears, your chain's going to start kind of pulling more to the outside edge, so you want to make sure that the derailleur is slightly in, or slightly, basically a little bit outward. And I'll show you how to put the cable in here, because I've gotten a couple comments basically asking, how to mount this, because this actually is a unlike your average derailleur where the cable mounts up top, this one actually is down, and it pulls, basically it, whoops, so I can see if I can do this one-handed. Basically it cable pulls upward and out like that. So, and I'll show you how to mount that. As you can probably kind of see, it's pretty simple. There's none of this stupid, like, wrap around. I mean, I don't even know what the purpose of this little groove back here is, because the guys even at the wheel and sprocket I talked to thought that had something to do with the cable routing, but I just went on a whim and mounted it like it is, and it works just fine. So I'm not gonna sit there and try to do any crazy stuff with it. If it works, it works, But basically, yeah, you get that all set up, and then you run it through the gears, get to high gear. But okay, I think I skipped a step here. So yeah, make sure you set your low gear. Make sure you got the right screw. And how I would do that is watch, like, threading, like, what I would assume is low gear, or the L screw for low gear. Thread that in and watch as the derailleur. And it should, if you're in low gear, it should start kind of moving outward a little bit, kind of like that. Like, you'll notice it's actually pulling. You'll notice it pulling more outward, like towards the outside of the basically the chainstay. So keep an eye on that. Make sure you got the right screw. Make sure it pulls outward. And like I said, if you want to get it slightly more outward, so when you go to, like, your higher low gears in the back, Basically, I mean, you got your low gear, and then like start moving down a little bit. You only really use like your first 2, 3, maybe 4 gears for low in the back, because obviously if you get all the way to the high gear and low up front, your chain's going to start twisting and it's going to hit this outer plate. And this is a 9-speed. I tried several different ways to try to adjust this with the cable and the screws, with it all the way in low gear and high in the back. Didn't matter what I did, it would sit there and it would hit the okay, now I'm stuck. But yeah, you probably heard that clattering. It would hit that no matter what I did. So that's basically just the way it is, because this is a 9-speed, but probably do that even on a 7-speed. Or I mean the back there, but yeah, run it through the gears, and once you get to high, it's probably going to be a little off there. So you want to grab your H screw, provided, like I say, provided that is the right one, because not guaranteeing. But in this bike, I'm pretty sure that yeah, the H screw is your high gear, so it'd be this guy. And start threading that in, make sure that it rides correctly, that it's centered, but you might go a little bit further in with it. And I'm just saying this because, but you want to check the chain angle too. Make sure that if it's like, say if you go high in the back, your smallest gear in the back, your highest gear, largest gear high in the front, it's a straight, your chain is straight, or if it's slightly angled, make sure you compensate with that screw where your bracket is, or where your inner outer plates are, according to where the chain is, so you're not hitting too much here, you're not hitting too much there. But the thing of it is, though, you might have to kind of play with these a little bit even after you adjust that way, because when you go back to low gear, it might be a little off and it'll start shattering, and like if you're back here, it might start shattering a little bit. But like I say, you don't want to go high in the front, low in the back, or low in the front and high in the back, because you're angling your chain so much that it really doesn't matter how you adjust it, you're going to hit your inner or outer plate on the front derailleur. So just keep that in mind. And now I will show you how the cable works. Okay, now we're on the cable side, and there we go, now you can see. So basically, sorry, I'm trying to scratch my hand here. So camera focuses, hopefully. So I got the line just kind of coming down here. There's a, sorry, the camera's not focusing. There we go. A little bit of dirt in there from trail riding it. But you have this little bent over clip here, and then there is a, if I can get the camera angle right, so you got this kind of shiny metal thing back here, which is basically just a nut. There's a groove in there, you can tell, but there's a groove in here. You want the cable to go into that, and then this this clip here will move. There we go. I'm sorry about the camera, it's not wanting to focus. That's why I don't like these this autofocus stuff on these phones. Anytime now. Anyways, but yeah, you basically get that through there. So this clip right here, there we go. This clip right here is also on the back side. So what you want to do is you want to sandwich the cable between this clip and this nut, and there's a groove in that nut. Well, basically a nut. Get the cable down through there, and then I have this tool here. Anyone's ever seen one of these before? So this is basically a line tool, so trying to remember how this works. Oh, there we go. So, alright, so see if I can do this one-handedly. So this little teeth in here, turn that off. This little teeth in here grabs the cable, and then this little piece here goes up against that. Trying to get my angles right. But basically, that goes up against there, and then you just kind of pull out. Obviously, it's not going to move because it's tightened down. But you get that to where your derailleur is in the low gear. And like I say, make sure your shifter is also in the lowest gear, because otherwise you're kind of going to defeat, you're going to be defeating yourself, basically. But yeah, make sure that's all locked down. Hold it tight, and then screw in. And basically tighten your screw down at the same time. But what I do is I actually go a little bit more, like beyond where it's low gear. I go like a little bit more through, because once you tighten the screw and you let off, any little bit of slack that is in that cable is going to pull through. So that's basically what I do, which is also why I say don't mess, make sure your two limiting screws are all the way out so that you can adjust. Because what's going to happen half the time is you let off and it's going to pull that extra bit through, and you're actually going to be slightly like lower than your low gear. Because typically when these are like, when these are fully spring-loaded back, they're going to be even beyond where your low gear is. They're going to be almost like if you had a fourth, like pretend if you had a fourth sprocket, they're going to be almost like that far out. Not guaranteeing it. They might actually line up perfectly with your low gear, depending on what kind of bike you have and what type of crank. Of course, I'm running a Shimano Holotech Octalink in here. So if you have that same setup, and obviously you're probably looking at this going, hey, there's still threads showing, that's not in all the way. That is the only way that this crank would actually turn, because if I put that in all the way, this is just locked, like it wouldn't turn. So I did what I had to do. Probably didn't do it right, but that's what works for this one. So, and I got the nice, like I said, I got the nice Rock Bro pedals and everything. So if you want to check out some of the parts I explained that I put into here, check out the last video. I think it's something like update on the bike or something like that. But I think it was like the very last video right before this one, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, but if you use that tool, you gotta kind of make sure you got this this little crimp thing on here, basically the cable end, and you're probably gonna notice that there's like 2 crimp marks in that. That to me, because I've had these come off with just one, but when you do these, I usually use like a pair of diagonal side cutters, and you don't want to sit there and like wrench them, sit there and just squeeze the dear life out of your pliers, because you'll just cut right through these and you'll take out more of your cable. But I usually just do like a couple little crimps, and then just give it a nice, like once you get it crimped, just give it a nice hard tug, and make sure that's not going to come off of there. See, I can sit there and just really yank on that and it's not coming off, because I got a couple of really good crimps in there, and yeah, they're on an angle, but that's doesn't matter if they're straight or angled, just as long as they go across and they're good and tight, not going to come off, because you actually use that, because even though there's teeth right in there, they can still just go right off the end. Like if you pull this tight, they'll just skim right off the end of that cable. But yeah, that's basically how that works. Like I said, if you have any more questions, feel free to leave a comment on this video, and if there's something I didn't answer. As far as like height adjustment, usually they're like someone said there's like a red sticker, which I think there was a red sticker on here that I pulled it off, not realizing what it was actually for. But basically, I would just make sure that, come around to the side here. So there's like a sticker on this side, I guess, that will show you where the derailleur is supposed to sit. I don't have that, but if yours does, I'd follow that. Otherwise, basically, you make sure when you're in low gear, or when your chain is in the low gear, that it's not riding on this bottom part here, and that when you're in high gear, your chain, or your derailleur, sorry, when you shift into high gear, your outer plate isn't riding up against the sprocket teeth. Make sure that all clears. As long as you have those two, or I should say, as long as those two ain't a problem, wherever your derailleur is aligned, you should be okay. I mean, that's usually what I've done in the past. I guess, like I said, I guess there's like a red sticker on here. I didn't know that's what it was for. So if you have that, or if you have some sort of label on your derailleur that shows you, where you're supposed to align it, obviously I'd go by that. But otherwise, the other method works too. I mean, it hasn't failed me. So just little things to keep in mind when you're working with these. So like I said, if you got any more questions, feel free to leave them in comments, and I can try to answer them or recommend you to a video or some website that can answer it for you. Like I said, I know a few things, but I'm not an expert on bikes. It's just things I've learned kind of through trial and error over the years. So like I say, some things I can answer, other things probably can't, but I can try to recommend you. So, or recommend someone who's got a video on it that's actually really good, so it knows what they're talking about. So yeah, that is basically that, and I will have more videos on different things, how to adjust them, and then just basic maintenance stuff on this, because there's a few things I'm probably going to do to it down the road that I can post those too. And so yeah, stay tuned. There's going to be, like I said, there's going to be more videos on this, and I'm even got some videos on some other things, like some vehicles and other bikes, and you name it. So yeah, see you in the next one.